sources are telling Knicks Fan TV. Yeah, we got sources now, JLs. You know, every once in a while we get
so now you the insider, Mac.
I'm not an insider. I'm not a journalist, but you know, every once in a while we get the birdies. You know, birdies come through and talk to us. So what the birdies are telling us is that number one priority this offseason for the Knicks will be trading Julius Randle. They're going to look to trade Julius. And the first trade rumor that I'm hearing is Julius Randle to the Utah Jazz for Mike Conley and draft considerations. Now, obviously, from the Jazz standpoint,
I like that.
Yeah, from the Jazz standpoint, you know, there's been questions in terms of Conley's fit and his chemistry out there with Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, he's taken a step back. The Jazz are going to be looking to re-up Donovan Mitchell this offseason and keep their team competitive in the West. For the Knicks, obviously, it's something that, you know, the stretch four position is something that it's no secret the Knicks have been looking to fill. And also the point guard position, you know, and if they make this move for Conley, it's a stopgap until they figure out, you know, whether they get one in the draft that they're going to bring up or they get one later on down the road. So what do you guys think, man? Conley for Randle swap. JB, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it makes sense from the standpoint of, well, A, Julius Randle is somewhere else. We're not watching him. But no, love or hate him. I think though, thinking about what's coming back, I mean, you're taking a guy who I know his third year on Randle's contract isn't fully guaranteed, but in Conley coming back, I think for so long he's been like in your mind of like, here's a guy on this overbloated contract, you know, let's not touch him. But his contract expires after next year, so you're basically saying, okay, there's no one really right now that we necessarily want to spend money on or go after. So bringing Conley, it gives you that veteran presence point guard position. You play out this year, and then you're free to do what you want in 2021. And meanwhile, you move Randle's contract. And then if you've got draft considerations on top of that, I mean, to me, on first blush, I think you'd have to, you know, I think it sounds pretty good to me.
JL, so what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's a decent move if you're trying to, like Jeff said, you know, just get an extra draft consideration here. Like, we haven't really utilized our roster spots correctly in the past, where we just seemed like everybody had to play and everybody was kind of, you know, crowded for minutes. And let's be honest, I don't expect Conley to play a lot next season if we trade him. So for me, it's almost like a Chris Paul-ish move, but without the, you know, the activity where you're just getting a coach. If you draft a point guard in the draft, or if you're letting Frank play, you have somebody to kind of move him along, and you get a draft pick back, and he's expired. So it's an okay move for me. And then it's almost like addition by subtraction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get rid of Randle. Hopefully you sign a stretch four who can start, give room for RJ, and you almost get better by osmosis, by addition by subtraction, and at the same time see what RJ can do with the extra room.
Agreed. I mean, like I said, I've said this all year. You know, I understand the fans' frustration with Randle. I felt like he was a guy that played outside of his normal role. You know, meaning that he came here, he had to be the number one guy, and we know that's not who he is. He had an up and down season. You know, obviously you wanted to see the 3-point shot be there for him. It definitely dipped off from his last season with the Pelicans. Not a guy that I want to give away, but if you're talking about getting draft capital back, I would certainly look to do that. Obviously, it frees things up for RJ and Mitch. If you look at how these teams are running, man, a lot of these teams, they're opening up that 4 spot. You know, it's a lot of wings, a lot of versatile wings. You're seeing a lot of small forwards in that 4 spot, guys that can stretch the floor. Do the Knicks go with Bertans in free agency? Do they go after Danilo in free agency or Christian Wood? Do they give that spot to Kevin Knox, right? If Knox moves in, does Iggy move up on the depth chart. You know, they have a lot of options. That's the thing with the Knicks this offseason and moving forward. They have a lot of options, and I think you move Randle, you have even more, especially if you're going to be talking about getting some draft capital back. So I would definitely look into it.
Yeah, and he doesn't hurt you too.
Oh,
sorry.
Go on, Jails. Go ahead.
Yeah, he doesn't hurt you too bad from the 3-point line. Like, he shoots 37% from three, puts up a decent amount, 5.4, which is, you know, pretty decent, which is something that we need. Doesn't shoot well in general. That's kind of a little bit abysmal. But again, I'm not expecting him to play all that much. I really don't expect much help from him. And if he is healthy, then we win, I guess.
Yeah, I disagree with you, JLs. I think he would play a ton. And first of all, you can get Peyton out of there, which I'm 2 thumbs up on that. I think Conley coming in here would play a ton, even if you go draft a point guard, whether it's at 8 or at 27. I think.
What I mean is health wise, like, he hasn't played.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, like, he's had 12. Yeah.
Got you. Yes, from an injury standpoint, yes, it's certainly a risk. But yeah, like I said, I think you can still go out and get him, still draft your point guard, have him groom that point guard, and if he's healthy, I still think he can help this team, even though, you know, he's taking a couple steps back a little bit. So I think it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing is people, you know, since last offseason, have wanted the Knicks to use their cap space for things other than just signing free agents. Mm-hmm. Here's an example of, I'm assuming, you know, that draft considerations is partly because they're moving a large contract where, you know, Randle is I guess, he makes less.
Randle's so about 18 and Conley's 34.
Right. So you're freeing up like $16 million of immediate cap space at a cost. And the Knicks, because they have so much cap space, they don't have to match salary if they do the trade after clearing off some of their non-guaranteed contracts. So they can just absorb it back. So to me, it's also like a benefit from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, one thing on Randle is, you know, it's easy, I think, for Knicks fans, you know, tired of seeing him do the same sort of things last season, and it got frustrating. But it's, you know, if Mitch wasn't here, if Mitch wasn't like a center, you know, a cornerstone piece,
right,
then, you know what, you can maybe, you know, make an argument for how Randle can fit into the right offense. You got a new coach coming in, and maybe that can help, right? But it just doesn't make sense when Mitch is the guy that you want to develop to have Randle, you know, playing next to him.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I think that they will look to deal him, because like I said, with Utah, they want to keep the Spider happy. They're gonna max him out, and I think they're gonna look for that cap. They don't have much cap space. They're not working with much cap space right now. And so you do that deal, it frees them up. They can go out. Maybe they go out and try to get Danilo in here. Certainly, there was a need for front court depth. They showed that in the bubble. They struggled to provide some depth behind Gobert, some scoring depth as well, especially with Bojanovic out. So I think it's a trade that makes sense for both teams.